Hello and welcome to Chicago This Week. I'm Blanca Estrada. Thanks for joining us today. Mayor Brandon Johnson is looking back at his first year in office. Coming up, we talk to residents about the list of accomplishments and failures. But first, the Chicago Police Department has had enough. They responded to crimes at one particular business so often that they just decided to shut the whole place down. Anaya Jones explains. Take a look.
Residents within the Southside community come to Happy Liquor and Foods to get their liquor and daily essentials for their family. However, on May 6th, they were caught off guard when they saw this sign outside of the store saying that this establishment was temporarily closed. Antoinette Martirino is a longtime Southside resident and has been coming to this liquor store for years. When she saw the sign on the window that the store was temporarily closed, she was hurt.
It kind of made me feel sad because I've been going to this place since I was 16 years old.
For Keontae Johnson, Happy Liquors is nostalgic.
Everyone around here that hangs around here, this is home. This is home. It's a tragedy someone had to come and disrupt the home, but this is home.
This liquor store is no stranger to crime. Located on the intersection of 79th and Cottage Grove, it was forced to close after a fatal shooting near the business. The Chicago Police Department issued a summary closure, stating, "This establishment presents a public safety threat due to a violent offense occurring at this establishment during the establishment's operating hours." Public figure and senior pastor John F. Hanna of New Life Covenant Southeast is long fed up with the business. Hanna took to social media to express his thoughts and, quote, "Pray with us that God keeps this business closed in our community. I know personally that many people have been robbed, beat, shot, killed, and chased in front of this store." A hearing for Happy Liquors closure is scheduled for May 22nd. This isn't the first time Happy Liquors has been temporarily closed, and many residents were afraid to express their complaints against the closure and feared their safety being jeopardized by local gang members. The 8th Ward Alderman Michelle Harris issued a statement regarding the liquor store's temporary closure. Harris stated, "I believe we're turning in the right direction with the store's recent closure." Also, Pastor Hanna plans to speak in front of Happy Liquors on May 25th around 1:30 p.m. to address this matter.
Thanks, Anaya. The crime rate is still a major problem for many Chicagoans. Voters tend to blame whoever's in charge. For the last year now, that's been Mayor Brandon Johnson. I spoke to voters about his time in office so far. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson approached 1 year in office on May 15th. During his time as mayor, he has been met with a variety of challenges and crises.
I feel like right across the board from what I've gleaned, it's been a slight disappointment.
The migrant crisis has dominated much of his first year. Since August 2022, 921 buses carrying migrants have been sent to the city. In total, over 41,000 migrants have arrived.
It's been a lot of homelessness here. People been hungry. To see you approve money for people who not from here.
The disappointment of Chicagoans is also seen in the topic of crime, with 50% of Chicagoans strongly disapproving with the handling and 16% somewhat disapproving.
Brandon Johnson, what have you really done that you feel like somebody should vote for you to be elected for anything?
However, it's important to recognize that Mayor Johnson has also kept his promises, such as opening up 2 mental health clinics, put in place a safety deputy mayor for the first time, put $100 million for violence prevention, put $250 million to address the unhoused crisis, and has set the largest bond deal in the history of the city. However, a lot of Chicagoans believe he needs to do more.
The youth need invested in. We nothing without the youth.
Throughout his time in office, Johnson has acknowledged he hasn't made everybody happy. Due to this, he knows more work needs to be done. Have you seen those AI-generated fake clips on the internet? They're pretty scary. You can make anybody say anything in their own voice. Some fakes are obvious, but others seem completely real. The issue is so serious that TikTok will now label AI-generated content. Nicole Herzog has this report.
Hello, TikTok. I had an important message for you, but I forgot what it was.
My dad is very disappointed in me for buying Twitter. I think it's because...
You've probably heard the phrase, "I'll believe it when I see it." But what happens when the videos you just saw weren't real?
We have evolved as a species to trust what we see.
That's a problem TikTok is hoping to tackle with a new policy. The company announced May 9th that it'll now automatically label AI-generated content by using advanced technology that can track fake images and audio. DePaul visual computing professor Jacob First says the policy is a step in the right direction, but even with the tools, it may not be a completely realistic goal.
A really cleverly produced fake may be hard to detect.
Would you be able to spot the difference between a real interview with a politician and an AI-generated one?
But right now, if I'm on TikTok, I get really anxious about if the videos I'm seeing are real or not.
You're capable of incredible things. Your presence.
I found 2 videos on TikTok of Trump and Biden saying the same thing.
Be kind to yourself and others.
Except they never said those words at all.
All right, so what do you guys think?
I mean, I think that seems like AI.
It felt like AI.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've also seen a lot of AI videos. I think if you didn't, it would look very real.
I'm gonna go with the fact that I think it's really him.
I think a lot of people could believe this immediately, and you can end up putting words in someone's mouth.
With so many getting their information on platforms like TikTok, First says these videos can misinform voters, though people will likely always stick with their political preference.
We're going to be Democrats and Republicans or independents, and a particular instance of a faked video probably not going to move the needle a huge amount.
TikTok isn't the first social media company to introduce a policy like this. Meta has also taken steps to track AI-generated content on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Nicole, if a video isn't labeled, how can you tell it's real?
Blanca, if the video is done well enough, you might not be able to tell at all. But if the lips don't align with the sound or the emotions don't match up, there's a good chance it's probably AI.
Thanks, Nicole. The state of Illinois is officially celebrating healthcare workers this week. Their contribution to the community was evident during the pandemic. Casey Clark-Malat joins us with the story. And Casey, officials are using this opportunity to look back at lessons learned, right?
You're right, Blanca. The Illinois Department of Public Health evaluated the state's response to the pandemic and now developed a plan for moving forward.
May 11th is Illinois Public Health and Healthcare Hero Day. It began in 2023, coinciding with the day that the public health emergency declarations for COVID-19 expired. 1 year later, the Illinois Department of Public Health has released an assessment of the state's response to COVID-19 and what they are calling a playbook for future health crises.
From the healthcare worker perspective, it's incredibly important that we're prepared for something like this.
Miller wasn't working during the pandemic, but she has heard plenty of what it was like.
So you hear horror stories of people washing and reusing gloves, keeping N95 masks for as long as they possibly can.
The evaluation of how the state handled the pandemic resulted in 3 major takeaways for the state. For the future, recommendations include improved preparedness, the modernization of systems including data sharing and hiring, and investing in local communities' health departments.
I think there were some logistical aspects of our preparedness efforts that could have been improved upon. There was not a stockpile, for example, of personal protective equipment. I think one thing that the city did incredibly well was ensure that vaccines, the monoclonal antibodies, and testing resources were equitably distributed across the city.
For someone working in the field, preparation is key for a future event like COVID-19.
I think it's very, very important that we learn from our experience during COVID-19 to ensure that we are providing public health agencies with the adequate level of funding so that allows them to prepare and scale up resources during a major public health crisis.
Thanks, Casey. Panera Bread restaurant will be making some changes to their menu. Customer lawsuits claim a Panera drink caused major health issues and even deaths. Karina Wilson has the story. Hi, Karina.
Blanca, Panera plans to replace its charged lemonades with low-calorie and low-sugar options. But for now, it's facing lawsuits and mixed opinions.
So there's this drink.
Panera Bread is to remove its controversial charged lemonades from its menu in the next 2 weeks. The drinks have been the subject of at least 3 lawsuits, 2 of which claimed wrongful death from the high levels of caffeine in the beverage. A regular 20-ounce blood orange charged lemonade is 15 calories and 0 sugar, but it contains 178 milligrams of caffeine. The beverages were released in tandem with the company's Unlimited Sip Club, where customers can subscribe for $14.99 a month, earning bottomless drinks.
What worries me is that they're on the fountain drinks, and it's unlimited.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration cites that 400 milligrams of caffeine a day is safe for healthy adults.
Unlike coffee, which is typically consumed hot, this lemonade you can just down in like 5-10 minutes. And so that's a lot of caffeine very quickly.
A Panera spokesperson says, "We listened to more than 30,000 guests about what they wanted from Panera and are focusing next on the broad array of beverages we know our guests desire." Some Sip Club members favored the caffeinated product.
It gave me the energy I needed to get me through my overnight shifts without giving me the caffeine jitters.
The revenue of energy drinks sold worldwide was around $193 billion last year and looks to increase to over $240 billion in 3 years. It is unclear whether the company's decision to remove the charged sips was due to health concerns or lawsuits. Panera has not replied to Chicago This Week's request for comment.
Caffeine sensitivity is different amongst all individuals.
Thanks, Karina. The warmer the weather, the more popular Chicago nightlife seems to get. Bars and restaurants are a little more crowded in the summer, but one area alderman wants to limit the number of bars that serve alcohol after hours. Haley Samples is here now to explain. Haley, what does the alderman want to do and why?
Blanca, essentially the alderman wants to block any additional bars and restaurants in the First Ward from selling alcohol through the late hours of the night. He says this proposed ban is a request from many residents in the area.
It's patio season in Chicago, and warmer weather means more people will be outside drinking. But soon, bars and clubs in the First Ward could have a new curfew for distributing alcohol.
Which, from a business standpoint, is good for me because at least we still have our licensing.
But some bars in the area are open until 4 and 5 a.m., requiring them to have a secondary license to sell alcohol past that 2 a.m. cutoff, a license that First Ward Alderman Daniel Espada wants to ban in his neighborhoods.
But I would argue, and our residents argue, that we have a sufficient number of late-hour establishments currently.
One of these late-hour establishments being Nick's Beer Garden in Wicker Park. They've been serving the community since 1977 and are one of the last remaining historic bars on Milwaukee Avenue. General Manager Tiffany Witkowski says to this day, they profit from selling liquor until 4 a.m.
So when all the other bars close at 2 a.m., everybody comes here to kind of drink, which is good because then we've built a lot of relationships with all the other businesses in the neighborhood, and we all help and support each other in however we can.
As of now, there are 8 venues that have these secondary licenses. In a committee meeting earlier this month, Alder Espada said he doesn't want to issue any additional late-hour licenses due to noise complaints and safety concerns.
I think a lot of people coming from other neighborhoods kind of coming in here and bringing violence. And
if the legislation is passed, businesses can't obtain the secondary license moving forward. However, places that already have one will remain unaffected. The City Council will cast their vote for or against this ordinance on May 22nd. From Wicker Park, Haley Samples, Chicago This Week.
Welcome to Chicago This Week Sports. I'm King Jemison. Just like the Chicago weather, the golf calendar is heating up. The best players in the world are at the PGA Championship this week in Louisville, Kentucky. I spoke to one Chicago area club pro who will be right there with them.
Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, and Andy Sabota. All golfers who will be competing in the PGA Championship this week.
This is probably one of the highest honors there is for a PGA professional.
So it's very, very special.
Sabota earned his way into his first PGA Championship start by finishing second in the PGA Professionals National Championship.
I just love to compete. I love the feeling of being in a tournament and the focus that you get.
Sabota will tee it up against the best in the world from the PGA Tour and Live Golf. But unlike most of them, competitive golf is not his 9 to 5. In fact, he spends most of his time here in Oak Brook at Butler National Golf Club, where he's a teaching professional, a career which he finds incredibly rewarding.
It gives me a lot of gratification just to help people improve.
But his day-to-day goes far beyond just giving lessons.
I work like 40 hours a week at Butler National in the golf shop, helping run the pro shop, running tournaments, and just making sure our members and guests have a great experience.
Sabota spent most of his career playing professionally full-time before transitioning to a club pro role in 2018. That left him with a lot less time to practice.
It can be trying. A lot of times I'm practicing at the end of the day after I work.
But focusing less on his own game has actually allowed Sabota to enjoy golf more.
It feels more like a passion, less like a job.
Now, Sabota will get to pursue that passion at a major championship.
It's pretty exciting to play in a major. Obviously, that's what we're all dreaming about.
Sabota is one of 20 teaching pros in the PGA Championship field. Just getting there is an incredible accomplishment. But playing well and moving up the leaderboard, now that could be life-changing.
Sabota is playing alongside Dean Burmester and Ben Griffin for the first 2 rounds of the PGA Championship as he fights to make the cut. Now, on to the other professional golf tour. Live Golf announced that one of their championship tournaments will be played right here in Chicago. Caleb Nixon has more on this. Caleb, how did Chicago end up getting to host a major Live Golf event?
King, Live Golf was determined to find the right course to crown their 2024 individual champion. After a cold February visit to Bolingbrook Golf Club, Live representatives and Bolingbrook's mayor agreed this was the place to do so.
When Live Golf tees off on September 13th, Bolingbrook Golf Club is set to make history.
It is a public course, which I think is very unique to Live. I believe this is the first time that they've played a public course. So it's definitely going to bring a lot of visitors into our community.
Even local golfers recognize the significance of this event.
I think the cool thing about Live coming to Bolingbrook is that like anybody can play Bolingbrook. Where some of these other courses, you know, you're not going to be able to get on, like Augusta, for instance.
Alexander Basta anticipates this event will be one of the most successful for the village of Bolingbrook.
Well, I'm looking forward to all the economic impact that it has, as well as the recognition. This is going to be amazing for our hotels, our restaurants, our residents. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for them.
For most professional golfers, this hole may seem easy, but at Bolingbrook Golf Club, Hole 15 is just one of the reasons this course is so famed.
Well, I think my favorite hole is the 15th, the Island Green. I mean, you don't get to play a lot of Island Greens in Illinois.
The course in itself is fun. It's energetic. It's got the prairie setting with the tall grass fescue. I can tell you that the course is not as easy and as simple as some people think it is. And until you've actually tried it, don't judge it.
It won't be long until some of golf's best athletes are on the course.
Thanks, Caleb. The WNBA's 28th season is just now kicking off. The Chicago Sky's rookie class has certainly gotten a lot of media attention. What does it mean for the season ahead? Our Sean Graney recently sat down with the team's coach and players. Hey, Sean.
Hi, King. So the WNBA has been buzzing as of late, and with the Sky season kicking off this weekend, anticipation is setting in for the dawn of a new era of Sky basketball. Take a look.
We're finally teammates. Finally!
It's a new era of Sky basketball, headlined by high-profile rookies, a new head coach, and the exciting anticipation of the start to the WNBA regular season.
I'm just excited to see what we can do. I think that we literally have dogs on this team. Everybody's capable of bringing something night in and night out. It just brings nothing but joy to my heart to be back in the Sky uniform in this city.
Despite the addition of 2 top 10 talents through the draft, ESPN preseason ranks have the Sky finishing last in the 12-team league standings, but rookie coach Teresa Weatherspoon wants her team to tune out the noise and simply be themselves.
Because I want them to be who they are. I don't want them to be anyone other than. I want to coach who you are.
After a transitional year for the organization, The Sky have reimagined their roster with a mix of veteran and young talent that Coach Weatherspoon hopes can help the rookies adjust to the overall speed of the game.
I just make sure I tell them, don't get too high and don't get too low, because this is the best league in the world. You're not going to be at your best all the time. Sometimes you're not going to be doing what you're used to doing.
Regardless of the off-court excitement and expectations, Sky players are focused on nothing but improvement and bringing a winning culture back to the South Side.
I mean, it's just great being able to bring that winning culture back to Chicago in all sports, not just the football, but like everybody, and baseball as well. So
the Sky kick off the regular season with back-to-back matchups with the Dallas Wings on the road, and players are eager for the first opportunity to reinvigorate Sky basketball. I'm Sean Graney, Chicago This Week.
Thanks, Sean. No doubt the most popular rookie on the team is Angel Reese. This week, she proved that, so far, she can balance her fame as a celebrity and her skills on the court. Jasmine Thomas joins us now to talk about Reese stepping into the world of fashion. Hi, Jasmine.
Hi, King. Angel Reese is one of the biggest stars to ever hit the WNBA. She's proving that she can shine on and off the court. Take a look.
The day before the Chicago Sky's first home preseason game, Angel Reese was at practice in Chicago in the morning and at the Met Gala in New York at night. Reese's appearance received backlash from fans and the media, saying that she should be focused solely on basketball so close to game time. Reese begs to differ. She says she can do both.
I went to the Met Gala, slayed the Met Gala in New York, came back, slayed against New York. Like, it's what I do.
She's the first WNBA rookie in history to appear at the gala.
I'm not one-dimensional. Women don't have to be one-dimensional. They don't have to do one thing.
Reese scored 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals in her home court debut. Despite backlash from the media, Coach Teresa Witherspoon and Sky teammates were vocal about their support of Angel's life outside of basketball.
I already knew the expectations going into it. Like, I needed to be locked in, obviously, and focus on my matchups. I took my matchups seriously. I watched film when I was on the plane, and I didn't take anything off. I wanted to get back. People at the Met Gala like, you partying after this? I said, no, I got a game tomorrow.
So when you see someone that young handle themselves in that way, you know what you have. You know what you have, and she knows how to prioritize, and she knew what was important. She earned that. She earned that opportunity to go.
Chicago Sky's guard Diamond DeShields weighed in on Reese's Met Gala appearance.
I think that it's really cool that she got that opportunity to go to the Met Gala. I mean, I'm still waiting on my invite.
With an influential rookie class this year, the Sky are anticipating a different energy surrounding the game. The Sky will face the Dallas Wings in their regular season opener on May 15th.
Thanks, Jasmine. When you think of Chicago sports, the Bulls, the Bears, and the Blackhawks often come to mind first, along with the Cubs and White Sox, of course. But Chicago is also home to a professional rugby team. As Taylor Anthony shows us, their popularity is growing.
Rugby is no American football, but it has become one of the fastest growing sports in the country. And this Chicago Hounds team here behind me are marking their names in the history books.
Just 2 weeks ago, the Hounds signed outside back player Willis Goodwin. And today, in the match versus the DC Glory, he made his Major League Rugby debut.
It's pretty awesome because it's in Chicago here, and like all my friends that I played with, like you said, since middle school and club and even through college were here, and just felt the love and support of the community.
The Arlington Heights native joined the team after a standout season with the Hounds Academy squad in the fall. But before making his way back home, he spent the 2023 season in Boston with the New England Free Jackets. His former coach, Paul Bergman, says in addition to his incredible athletic skills, he was an embodiment of the team's core values.
You know, I've worked very hard to be here, but I've also been granted opportunities by a lot of great coaches.
And as long as I've known Willis, he's lived up to that. And that's why he is where he is today.
The Rugby World Cup says global participation in the sport has increased by 11% to 8.46 million as of 2023.
It's been growing a lot. Youth rugby has really expanded, which is really the grassroots of what we need.
It's gonna get better. Rugby is gonna grow. I hope it becomes as big as college football.
There is also a rise in college participation with an increasing number of varsity and club teams around the country. Goodwin continued his rugby career at John Carroll University in Cleveland, Ohio.
He's got a lot of guts, and he plays his butt off every time he takes the field.
I just hope it's not the last one. You know what I mean? Just gotta keep doing this.
After a 4-game win streak, the Chicago Hounds fell short by 1 point, but are hoping to go for a Major League Rugby championship in August. The Hounds are now approaching week 12 of their season and will be taking on the Houston SaberCats this weekend.
Taylor, so one of the reasons many Chicagoans don't know about the Hounds is that the franchise is really new. Isn't that right?
Yes, King, the Chicago Hounds were named as an expansion franchise in 2022 and played their inaugural season just last year at SeatGeek Stadium.
That's all for sports this week. Back to you, Blanca.
Thanks, King. It's that time of the year. High school seniors are graduating. Many are preparing for college. Kennedy Hewitt tells us about one local high school that wants to help students pay for their very expensive road ahead. Hi, Kennedy.
Hi, Blanca. College expenses increase year after year, but this Rogers Park High School is doing their best to offset the cost. These neighbors are getting in their steps to send a local high schooler to college with just a little more money. Sullivan High School in Rogers Park has brought back their annual 5K Dream Race, a decades-long tradition that came to a pause in 2020 due to COVID. Now in its first year back, the administrators and community members are hoping to pick up where they left off.
This is my neighborhood that I grew up in, Rogers Park, this area here.
Cesar Sanchez participated in the race for years before it stopped. He echoes the sentiments of everyone else. He wants to meet neighbors and donate to a good cause while being active.
Meet some of the neighbors. My son is with me. He's going to run. He loves to run.
I see a lot of our staff here that came to support. I see some of my neighbors as well.
Dylan Temeny, one of the race organizers, said, "Doing events like this allows for more engagement, where people can really see what a school can offer. It's more than just academics, it's that community base." At the end of the day, the school raised $1,900. That's over $1,000 that'll go to some of their college-bound students. According to the school, they're focusing on students receiving the least financial assistance.
Thanks, Kennedy. Finally tonight, if you were outdoors at the right time this past weekend, you got a spectacular light show in the sky. The northern lights were visible from our area and they were amazing. If you missed them, our Mary Grace Grable shows us the beautiful images and explains how they occur.
The northern lights were spotted in Chicago.
Oh, it's amazing over the city right now.
The coolest thing about it was like how unexpected it was. Like I would never expected to see it in Chicago. Just being able to see all like the fun colors and streaks in the sky when it's not something that I would have ever expected, I guess was probably the coolest part.
Oh, there's more now.
It was a really surreal experience and thing to see, because I never thought that I would see that somewhere right next to a major city.
The northern lights occur when energy from the sun interacts with different gases within the atmosphere.
The reason we were able to see the northern lights over the last few days was because the strength of the energy coming from the sun, those geomagnetic storms, just interacted with the gases in our atmosphere. Those also correspond to different colors that you see in the northern lights. It was categorized as a G5 or an extreme storm with extreme conditions.
And this type of event that we got to experience going into Mother's Day weekend, how wonderful was that for all the mothers out there? Yeah, the skies lit up. We had the most extreme geomagnetic storm we've had since the year 2003. It's very difficult to see most of the northern lights because they're usually kind of faint and they're along the horizon for people in light polluted areas to see them, let alone most of the country or nation for that matter.
This Mother's Day weekend was one to remember.
To tell my kids about it one day, or someone important to me, to say that you saw the northern lights in a suburb of Chicago is pretty crazy.
I'm Mary Grace Grable, reporting from Chicago, Chicago This Week.
Thank you, Mary Grace, and thank you at home for tuning in to another episode of Chicago This Week. We'll see you again next week. Good night, everybody.